Welcome to a new live session here in the Job Stacking Coaching Program. And today we have Bahabrat with us today to maybe talk a little bit, answer some questions at the end during the Q&A session about working U.S. jobs from outside the United States. Very thankful to Brad for joining us. He joined in a previous live session that was not recorded, so one of the chill streams where we just had our cameras on, our microphones on, and everybody kind of like, it was more casual, less structure than these other live streams that are like lecture and Q&A, right? And then I'm like, thing also that I'm all well groomed for the for the recording. Maybe should have done that before started recording, but whatever. All right, so let's just get started. Today I wanted to talk about some of the experiments I've run over the past it's 2025 now. So I'd say like the last 6 years with the multiple employers that I've had. The number of employers I've had over the past 6 years is a little bit absurd. It's like getting close to 50. It's like 40 something. Maybe I'm misremembering. Last time it was 30, like 38 or something like that. I don't remember exactly how many jobs I've had. I remember how many jobs I have in the present, but total, I kind of like eludes me. But it's something like I have like a folder in my computer where I list all of the jobs that I've had, but I've stopped doing that more recently just because I used to like save the contract and some other information there, but it's like I stopped doing it because it stopped mattering. At one point they all blend together, it's all the same thing, and so it's a ridiculous amount of jobs, like definitely more than 40, but I'm not sure if I actually reach 50 employers that I've worked for over the past 6 years. So you can say that I've had 25 years, 25 years of experience in 5 years or something like that, which is, it's what allows me to teach you guys stuff that nobody else is teaching about how employers behave and how to make things work. So anyway, who wants to hear the experiments, right? Like, who wants to hear me talk about some of the weird, some of the things that I've done are close to unethical, but that's because it's it was an experiment. It was on purpose. I knew I was gonna probably lose the job, but I had to do it anyway for science, right? Like it wasn't. It was on purpose, right? So it seems like you guys are up for it. So let me just start. All right, so number one, so this is the experiments. This is by no means comprehensive. These are the main ones that I remember, and probably some more will come as we start, talking about it, and you guys ask me questions. So number one is when my boss, my direct manager was out, I would skip the dailies. So I had this for a while. I was banging this drum of like the dailies are just there, to report to your boss, basically. Like the daily stand-up meetings, like the theory. If you read the Scrum manual, if you get certified as a Scrum Master, like I have a Scrum Master certification. Yes. I attended the little courses and the little thing where you play and they make you play and build stuff with Legos. I did that. I got my certification, which, by the way, you can tell it's a scam, where it's like a certification mail, because it has an expiration date. I have other certifications that are technical, that are real, right? And they don't expire. Those certifications don't expire. But the Scrum Master, and it expires very quickly. It expires in like 2 years or something, as if the Scrum practices were so dynamic and so important that you would need to get recertified. So anyway, I got the certification. I did all the things. So and I still believe this, right? The purpose of the daily stand-up is to report to your boss. The daily stand-up is completely ridiculous practice nowadays. That we have stuff like Jira and project management tools and ticketing tools are very advanced, and they can at a glance let you know where everybody is. So this idea of like when Uncle Bob and all the original guys in the Agile Manifesto came in and like, oh, this is, I know they didn't invent Scrum, right? But like, like the idea of like, oh, you get together with the team and you just sync, right? Like it just you sync with everybody. But in reality, nobody syncs with anybody. Very rarely that happens. It's just a report to your boss. So strongly believe this, but I was banging the drum of this, like this is what it is, this is what the daily stand-up is all about. And so I was like, all right, so I'm going to stop showing up to the dailies, not provide any excuse, like don't type anything in the chat when my boss was out, right? See what happened. Nothing happened. My theory was proven correct. I don't recommend you guys doing this because it could be, maybe if I repeated this experiment 1,000 times, who knows what the ratio of success would be. But nothing happened. Nobody ratted me out because nobody knew, right? Like, who knows where Rolf is? Like, is he sick? Well, like they don't know, right? Like they're not your boss, so since you don't report to them, they're not expecting reports, right? And then they forget. And then they forgot, like they don't pay attention to it because everybody's busy with their own thing, right? So like I said, but maybe it was just the circumstances. Maybe you're in, you have bad luck and one of your coworkers rats you out because she is, she's very involved. Like she doesn't like that type of stuff, right? Like that you shouldn't be skipping dailies when the boss is out. But yeah, I did that experiment, and nothing happened because the boss wasn't there. There was no record, like they weren't recorded. Nothing happened. Like it's like it just proves how useless the entire thing is. We have a comment here. Is that in my stand-ups, if you don't show up, they get upset and wonder where you are. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like maybe I got lucky and like I was in a very apathetic team that didn't care, right? But other times you do, you can see it in other teams where somebody misses the daily and everybody's like sending messages like, where is this guy? Exactly. You have to probe what you can get away with. Exactly. So that's the point of these experiments that I'm describing, right? Like I was trying to probe what I could get away with. And so in this particular employer, I found out that nothing happened when the boss was out, daily stand. So yeah, let's move on to the next. Let's move on to the next experiment. All right, so this is also related to daily stand-ups. Skip dailies and just send update via text, right? So this is sort of like not showing up to the meeting, but still participating in the stand-up process by delivering my update via text. So I have done this multiple times. I did do this multiple times because it's easier, right? Like the other one, you have to basically be, like it's hard to coordinate when you're trying to do something when your boss is out as an experiment than just something like this, which is like just write your update, send your update via text instead of showing up to the meeting, right? Instead of connecting to the meeting. What I found is that they don't like it. I got fired every time I did this, and it was a big deal. It was a huge deal. Not the first time, right? Like they're very tolerant if you do this, even for a couple of days. But when you do it, so let me clarify. So I did this in different modes, right? So there's skipping every daily with and sending the update via text. And then the other thing I did was skipping one daily a week or something like that, right? Like, like maybe on one Tuesday, the next week, on a Wednesday, then next week, I would skip it on a Monday. And so if you do the skipping every daily and just sending your update via text, they don't have it. They will not tolerate that. They will get very upset, and they could either fire you on the, not on the spot, because it takes about a week for them to sort of like catch on that you are not, that all you're doing is sending updates via text. It also depends on the culture of the place. I've also been in companies where they encourage virtual stand-ups. That's fine, but I'm talking about a regular, sort of like normal place where they have their meeting, and what I would do is simply excuse myself. Hey guys, sorry I can't make it to stand-up today. Here's my update. Next day, hey guys, sorry I can't make it today. Here's my update. Hey, and so that I was only allowed, I was only able to get away with it for about a week and a half before I got fired. And this time, like I said, like I repeated this experiment multiple times, and in different forms. The one where it's like one time a week, it takes longer for the like way longer for them to basically get upset about it if they ever do. That's that's something that you can sort of get away with, right? Like I came to the conclusion that it's easy if you want to do something like that. It's easier to sort of like be upfront and tell them like, hey, just so you know, on Tuesdays or whatever, it's going to be hard for me to show up for the stand up because I have X commitment, right? Like I have to take my kids to school. I have to pick up my kids from school, whatever makes sense about around the time of the stand up, right? So what I found is that if you are upfront about it and you have a plausible excuse for why every Tuesday, every Wednesday, whatever day you choose, you are not in the daily and you're going to provide your update via text, they're very accommodating with that. But you sending every day, just like passing on the meeting, even if you're still engaged, even if you're still available. So this is the thing. It's not that I said, hey, I'm not going to be available at this time. It's just like, hey, I'm not going to make it to the stand-up, right? Like I'm going to be available immediately before the stand-up and immediately after the stand-up, but I'm just not going to be available those 15 minutes. Oh, they threw a fit. Like after a week, like I told you, like just like it just shows you how important, how sacred the meeting has become. Like the daily stand-up has become. It's become like this sacralized. It's like I joke with my friends and tell them like it's more important than actually doing your job at this point. Like you can do very little and show up every day to stand up. And they're fine, but you can be producing good work, right? Like you can have good output, but then be kind of like a rogue that's like, oh, sorry, I'm not going to show up to meetings. I'm still going to send you updates, right? Like I'm still going to be because that's the thing, right? Like that's the nuance of this experiment. I'm not blowing them off. I'm not telling them like, whatever, man, like just not going to show up to any meetings or whatever, man. Like I'm not going to be available for the morning. It's just like, hey, I can't make this 15-minute blog, 30-minute blog that you have here. I'm not going to be able to make it, but here's my text update. Just again, like the meeting is sacred at this point. This is like a blasphemy. It's blasphemous what you've said. It's a crime against the sacred meeting. So yeah, it's kind of ridiculous how important the daily has become. But like I said, the safe route, if you want to try this, if you want to gain some time off, right? Like especially this is helpful once you're actually job stacking. You have multiple jobs. And you have like a consistent conflicting meeting because the daily stand-ups or whatever other meeting happen at the same time. If you want to like catch a small break, right? You can just come up with a continuous activity, right? That makes sense around the time of the daily, and just choose a day to tell them. You can push it by saying 2. So I recommend only 1. It's a lot more reasonable. Just have that day where you don't have the stand-up. And as a matter of fact, I managed, the good thing about this experiment is that I discovered that I could actually clear my entire day of meetings, or close to it, at least the, daily stand, that sort of thing, like meetings that are together, right? Like that are scheduled like in a bundle. If from the, entire days by just using, by using this technique, right? By telling them like, hey, on Tuesdays, and I say Tuesday so much because it was Tuesday, the day that I cleared. So it's very vivid in my mind. On Tuesdays, I know we have the daily stand-up, and then every 2 weeks we have whatever the daily stand-up, and then the retrospective or something else, right? But I'm not, from 11 to 12, I'm not going to be able to, I'm not going to be available because I have whatever. I don't even remember the activity that I remember the day it was Tuesday. But I don't remember exactly the excuse that I used. And I remember that the time was from like 11 to 1, that block. And I told them like I would include my lunch in this thing. And they, like whenever I've used it, they are very accommodating, right? Just be aware that don't use it when you're just like brand new on the job, because it feels like pushing it, right? Like it feels like rude to them that, hey, this new guy, he's just showed up. He doesn't even have or he only has like a month here and he's already asking for time off. So like wait until you have like 3 months at the job to try to pull this off. But it's a good technique to, like I tell you, like just clear your day, one day of the week with fewer meetings or no meetings if you can manage. I manage no meetings because like I tell you, like I coordinated with all the jobs. I presented different specific excuses. And again, just remember that it has to make sense for the time when the meeting that you don't want to go to happens, right? Like you can't say, if the meeting happens at like 4 p.m., I don't know, something crazy like that, you can't just say like, oh yeah, I have to pick up my children from school. I have to take my children to school. Doesn't make sense, right? Like it has to be an activity that makes sense around that time, right? And usually the best times are early morning and the middle of the day, because that's when a lot of activities happen, a lot of back and forth. So yeah, anyway, let me check the comments here. 100% electronic version of bullshitting around the office water cooler. Yeah, absolutely. The daily stand-up is absolutely that. All right, so next experiment. All right, so this is kind of similar, but this is more radical. Excuse myself from going to every meeting that wasn't the daily. So this is sort of like now doing the opposite. I'm going to the daily, but I'm excusing myself from every other meeting. It's like now it's only the daily stand-up. All right, so still the results here were still that I got fired, but it took a way longer time for them to basically be, had it, with me missing all the meetings, right? With the daily stand-up, it was like you missed 5 daily stand-ups in a row. Goodbye, kid. you're done. With this, it was more like it took them a few months of them like, hey, we see you showing, we see you, showing up to the stand-up, but then every other meeting you seem to be having issues. You seem to, I remember what I said, like excuse myself out of the meeting. So it wasn't that I always said the same thing of like, hey, like I have something to do or whatever. Like sometimes I would have technical problems. Sometimes I would have a personal emergency. Sometimes I would have something scheduled that I announced. But the key here is the nuance of this experiment was that I announced it. It wasn't that the meeting happened and then all of a sudden I wasn't there. It's like I let them know in advance. I gave them notice. So the purpose of this experiment was to basically test the boundaries on this notion that employers tell you all the time that you can skip meetings or not show up to work as long as you give them notice. Like they're always big on like, give us notice, let us know in time, be in contact. Please let us know what you're doing, where you are all day, all the time. And so I was like, okay, let's see if this is true. I'll go to the daily stand-up, but I'll give you notice of me skipping every meeting until you bring it up. And yeah, they do bring it up. They do notice. They eventually, of course, this is a bit extreme, right? Like if you can obviously do this and not get in trouble, right? Like once, twice, like again, like maybe even like once. No, that's the thing. No, not even once a week, right? Like, so like the different versions of this experiment was like, I'm going to skip every meeting. All right, fired quickly, like in a month, right? Except the daily stand-up, remember. Then it was like, all right, so I'm going to go to the daily stand-up. I'm going to go to every meeting except this other meeting that happens on Wednesdays, right? And I'm going to excuse myself all the time. I'm going to give them notice but I'm not going to give them an excuse in the sense of what we talked about in the previous experiment of explaining, giving them an activity, a continuous activity that happens on that day. It's just going to be like ad hoc problems all the time, right? Like I'm going to, sorry, I can't make it. Sorry, I have a personal commitment. Sorry, I have an appointment. Sorry, I have technical difficulties. On every Wednesday, every meeting. They catch on to that way more quickly, believe it or not. The reason is that it creates a very specific pattern, right? If you are like all over the place, missing meetings and skipping meetings, there's still a pattern, but they have a harder time consolidating what it is. But if it's like every Wednesday you're not available for X, Y, and Z, they start like raising their eyebrows. They start like, thinking like, what's wrong with this guy that every Wednesday he can't make it? Whereas with the other, like I said, like to have the pattern of like this guy skipped every meeting this week, it takes them it takes them longer to figure that out than if it's something consistent, right? So this is where, running all these experiments is where I realized that, hey, yeah, employers let you get away with a lot as long as you don't have a consistent pattern of what it is that you're doing, right? So like, again, you always get out of meetings by having technical difficulties. That's a big no-no. Don't do that, because then you're the guy that hits like, hey, Rolf, you always have technical difficulties. What's wrong? Like fix your internet, fix your computer, fix your microphone, fix whatever, right? But if it's like, technical difficulties, then the other day you have to pick up your kids, then the other day you have an appointment, then the other day something else. there's still a pattern, right? But like figuring it out, it becomes harder, right? So just keep this in mind, like as we go through these experiments and as you go through your own experience, the easier it is to figure out the pattern, the easier it is for you to get in trouble, basically. So yeah, so next experiment. All right, so this is, I mean, be out sick for a week and not turn in a doctor's note. This isn't that controversial. I just was testing the limits of the bureaucracy because your boss doesn't get your doctor's note, and it depends how they have the system set up, right? Your boss doesn't have paid sick leave basically, but without the justification, without the doctor's note. So basically, just I just hate doctors note. Why do I have to go to the doctor? You know what I mean? Like, if you're already willing to pay X amount of days for me being sick, why do I have to go to this? It's just bureaucracy. You know what I mean? Like, it's just pure bureaucracy. Like, yeah, you have to go to the expert to get the stamp and then bring us the stamped document. This is what I referred to when I talk about like the inefficiency of the private sector. This is like they operate as bureaucratically as the government, right? Maybe in some aspect it's more efficient, and the government is more efficient in some other aspects. But the private sector is also very inefficient in places where the government isn't necessarily so. I'm not saying this is one of those places, but I'm just saying like this is one of those things that it's like it reeks of bureaucracy, right? Because there's no, it's like literally employer policy. Like there's no like legal requirement to turn in a doctor's note or anything of the sort. It's just like HR demands it. So what I did was like just be out sick for a week. Sick for real. Like, let me clarify this. Like, be out sick for real for a week. Don't go to doctors. I don't like going to the doctor. You have to spend money. And that's the other thing, right? Like, why I hate doctor's note and having to prove that you're sick is like, like sometimes you're too sick to go to the doctor. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, get in a car, drive, like, or force my wife to drive me to this place, stay with me and with the doctor, like, just for them to give me a recipe with medicines that I already know I need to take. It's like they want to treat, they want to bureaucratize, if that, is bureaucratize a word, but like they want to treat like just simple sickness, like routine sicknesses that we get as this big deal where you have to go to doctors. Like, no, man, like I've gotten the flu since I was a kid. I don't know if every year, but like I've gotten it several times. I don't need to go to a doctor whenever I get the sniffles, like I don't need to get to a doctor so if I go to the doctor just to get the note. So anyway, long rant, I digress. The point is that I was like, all right, let me see where the bureaucracy breaks down, right? Like, let me test the limits of the system that they have here to figure things out, right? So, my direct manager, all he cares about is that I catch up on work. HR is the one that they don't care about me catching up on work. Like, they care about it in a very abstract sense, but they have no access to my work. All they care about is like the bureaucracy, right? Like getting the notes, etc. So eventually what I did was simply not turn in the note. Like the HR would remind me, but it had no direct consequences at my work, right? Like with my boss. So eventually what happened was that nothing happened. Like I just never turned it in the system. And eventually everybody forgets because there are bigger fish to fry than a doctor's note. This is one of those experiments where I'm neutral, and if recommending it, you trying it or not, like you can try it out. I don't think anything's going to happen. It's something could happen. So I'm not necessarily endorsing you guys going out and doing this stuff. But if if you're sick one day and you don't feel like going to the doctor, and you recover in 3 days or something like that, 3 days, 2 days, something like that. You come back to work, maybe try it. Like, the point is not telling them, not antagonizing them, not telling them, no, I'm not going to turn in a doctor's note. No, I don't care. Like, the point is like, oh yeah, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And then they just forget, right? Let me check the comments. Like in school where you needed a doctor's note to be excused due to sickness. Yeah, it's all very infantilizing. It's a humiliation ritual, right? Like having to go to somebody else to prove that you were sick. It's a humiliation ritual, and it makes no sense. I hate it. Let me see. Taking a few in that next experiment, taking a few more vacation days and pretending like I had communicated it. Yeah. So this, I did this twice. I got fired in one, and the other they didn't catch me. So yeah, so basically, it's like imagine you ask for like 5 days or 7 days, 1 week vacation, and you're supposed to come in on Monday, right? Like you're supposed to come, and then you don't. You come in on Tuesday, and then you act as if no, yeah, it was totally on Monday. Sorry, I was supposed to come back on Tuesday. Yeah, totally. And then just pretend like hey, yeah, totally. I always said yeah, I was gonna come back on Tuesday. And so yeah, so in one of them they caught me and they fired me. The second one they didn't realize. They were like, oh, okay, cool to have you back, and they didn't deduct the time off, and it happened. It was great. I got a free vacation day. Let me see if there's another comment here. I actually got the flu this year. Was barely able to still clock in and remotely. Yeah, and they want you to go to the doctor like while you were feeling like that. Yeah, of course. Like you got to spend money, right? Like you got to, get a, ask for a cab, right? Like an Uber to drive you to the doctor, pay the doctor. Like it's just to get a note. Like it's just ridiculous, right? But anyway, yeah, I got my free vacation day just by pretending. Again, remember that I have contempt for employers. I do this on jobs that I don't care about. Like, so if I get fired, whatever. So don't do this, right? Don't do this if if you only have one job. Don't tempt fate. Yeah, don't tempt your fate with that. Let me see. Next experiment. Taking a free day off by telling my manager, but not HR. Yeah, so this is kind of similar. And this is me basically testing, again, the cracks in the bureaucracy, right? Because you have basically two supervisors. You have HR, which deals with the bureaucratic stuff, and then you have your boss, which you report directly to, and your absence affects your boss. Your absence does not affect HR. They don't care, right? All they care about is that you have the prerequisite documents and all the stamps, right? Like they're just a bureaucratic agency. But your boss is the one that, if you don't show up to work, you impact his bottom line. Let's go, so to speak, right? So what I did was ask for permission ask my boss for permission to be off, be upfront with him, but then just don't request the time off from HR or from the system, right? Like don't, because, again, these are inhuman bureaucratic systems, right? Sometimes they just like, oh yeah, go to a website and input your time off, right? So you don't even have to interact with a human. And so those are the cracks that I seek, that I like to exploit with these experiments, right? Which is like, what if I don't comply, right? Like, what if I just don't comply with your stupid bureaucracy? And if you want to put the, if you want to write in the time off, you do it yourself, right? Like HR, like why do I have to go to a system to put in the day or whatever? Like that's extra work, you know what I mean? Like that is additional work that we have to do just so that the precious employer does not see disrupted its activity, right? I'm going to go into a whole other rant about how employers don't actually give us time off. Like this goes back to my employers have no ethics, no morals, just legal limits. Like if you think about it, they only give you the minimum amount that's like required by law. And then the other part that it's like not required by law, like the one that they offer, they make it incredibly inconvenient for you to get, right? Like you have to plan around the vacation. You have to let them know in advance. You have to provide documents sometimes that you have to, right? Like if you get sick, right? It's not just like that the employer, it's not that the employer is giving you time off. It's that it's giving you the option, but you have to do all this other work to get it, right? And even just sending an email, that's work, right? Like that is extra work. But additional to that, you have to plan it. You have to coordinate. They can deny it, right? Like that's the other thing. You're not taking it. You're not taking time off. You're asking for permission. So they're not really giving it to you. It's not something that is given, right? Like it's not like a medieval festival where everybody, I don't know, like it's harvest time, right? Everybody after the harvest, everybody gets. We have this big festival and everybody gets it, right? Like it's not like, oh, sorry, can I go to the festival? It's like, no, you, the entire town, the entire community was part of it. Employers don't give you that. Like employers don't give communal vacations so that everybody, it lifts the burden off your shoulders of like having to plan the vacation thing, coordinating it with them. No, it's just like, employers, like we give you this time off, but it's not. It's like they give themselves the time off, basically. Like it's a benefit. Like it's not a benefit that is given to you, the worker. It's a benefit that is given to them. That the employer gives itself, so that they have minimal interruptions, so that they don't lose a day of business ever. While you are like miserable, not feeling like you can take a day off, right? So anyway, long rant. We have a comment here. Employers are Ebenezer Scrooge, really hoarding your freedom from wage slavery. Piss on the employer. Yeah, pretty much. It's like I told you, like they don't give you time off. Like it's just that simple. Like if you sit down and think about it, the holidays that you get are mandated by the government, and then the time off, the PTO that you are offered, right? Like it's not given to you. Like you have to work for it. Right? Like you have to work for it, like literally working for the employee, because you have to earn it. Like that's the thing. You have to earn it by working a certain amount of time there. And then you have to do work to use it. And that's the other thing. Employers are not pushing you to use it. That's the other thing. That's the other nuance that I forgot. Employers are not out there telling you like, hey guys, remember to use your vacation days. We want you to get off. Remember, use as much as you can. You can always get more vacation day. That's not, I mean, maybe some employers do kind of push you sometimes to use your vacation days, if especially the older ones, like they have like a different ethic, but it's not about like you enjoying yourself. It's about their convenience. It's like, hey, we don't want to, if we let you go right now, we don't want to pay for whatever amount of time off that you have. So we're going to trick you into using those vacation days, and then we're going to fire you, right? So that we don't have to pay you as much out of pocket. So it's just a huge scam. Like the entire PTO, like vacation stuff, is just completely immoral. Like one of those things that it's baked into the system, but it's completely immoral when you like sit down and break it down, and you sit and break it down into its part and see what's actually going on. And let me see another comment here. Lost that job after coming back from my honeymoon. They were pissed. I actually used my earned PTO hours. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you have these PTO hours or these PTO days, but they don't want you to use it. Like they don't want you to use it. They put every legal hurdle that they can in your way so that you don't use it, right? Everybody's saying, everybody here, I got fired right after vacation too. Yeah, because they tell you, they trick you. Yeah, go on vacation. And then you come back and I'm like, sorry, we're not, we were trying to not pay you those days. And they don't even give you the option. This is what I mean. Like, oh my God, they have no ethics, no morals, just legal limits, right? They don't even give you the option like, hey, do you want to go on vacation, right? Like, because no, that's the worst thing, right? Like they could have fired you, paid you your time off, and then you could have decided, well, I'm going to use this money to go on vacation. But no, they just trick you like, yeah, go on vacation, and then you come back, they fire you. And they don't have to pay you that time off. The other big satanic thing that they just came up with is like the unlimited PTO, because that's just like a subscription. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? Like when it was like a set amount of PTO that they give you, they at least had to pay you that when you left, right? Again, it's not good because you actually want the vacation. The vacation is worth more than the day, the day that they're going to pay you, right? But with this unlimited PTO, we know it's not unlimited. We know we can't just like use whatever we want. We can't just take every Friday off, like that's not happening. Though I do have that experiment pending. I just haven't landed another unlimited PTO job recently. But I do have that experiment of like taking them up on their offer and like just taking every Friday off. Like, oh, you have a limited PTO? All right, 4-day week, 4-day work week for me. Yeah, let's see what else we have in the chat. I did that and got fired. Took 3 days off the second week, every Friday off, and got fired. Oh, so you did it. You did the like trying to get a 1 day a week off with their unlimited PTO. Yeah, unlimited PTO is the biggest scam in modern employment. Not even banked hours you can catch up upon quitting. Yeah, that's the thing. They give you unlimited PTO, knowing that you won't use it, right? Knowing that you will. And I'm sure there's probably some study out there saying that companies that offer unlimited PTO, people use less PTO. Actually, I'm gonna ask the Oracle. let me ask Claude. Well, Claude, one of my oracles. Hey, Claude, is there a study that shows that people take less time off when their employers offer unlimited PTO? Let me see. Let's see what the online oracle says. There have been several studies and analysis that suggest employees often take less time off when their employers offer unlimited paid time off policies. One notable, I knew it. Like, listen, I don't need the studies. I don't need the studies. I know. I just know, right? Like, I just know. I don't need the studies. The studies are just confirmation of what I already know in my gut, in my being, in my soul. Right. So, like, just logically, knowing employers, you can deduce all this shit out. Like, you can just deduce everything that they're going to do just by knowing how they are. All right. So, all right. One notable study from 2017 by HR Platform, namely, found that employees with unlimited PTO took an average of 13 days off per year, while those with traditional PTO plans took an average of 15 days annually. Wow. Similarly, research by the HR consulting firm Mercer has shown that when companies switch to unlimited PTO models, total time off taken typically decreases rather than increases. Many workplace analysts attribute this to several factors. Lack of clear guidance about what's appropriate. That's what I'm telling you. Like, they don't, since it's unlimited, you can take it whenever. I mean, you don't even have to tell. Like, when I've worked with unlimited PTO places, they're like, no, bro, you don't even have to ask us. You just take the time off, man. And so, like, people don't do it. Like, people don't do it because we need sort of like we need rails to not fall off, to know what's appropriate, right? And they just take off the rails and then you fall off. The falling off means that you don't use the PTO, right? Or you abuse the policy by actually taking them up on their offer and lose the job. So yeah, fear of being perceived as taking advantage of the policy. There you go. Competitive workplace cultures where taking time off might be seen as a lack of commitment. So yeah, so in competitive places where they don't want you, no employee wants you taking time off. But in the more competitive places, they very acutely, very severely don't want you taking time off. So they offer you the PTO policies. And this also tracks with my experience because the places where I've had unlimited PTO, they were like cool startups where it was like 60-hour weeks, a constant, you being on the phone, not on the phone, but being on call all the time. Like, you have to respond to messages every if they send you a message, you have to respond in 5 minutes, something like that. No use it or lose it incentive that exists with traditional PTO banks. The phenomenon has been referred to as the unlimited vacation paradox. We knew it, it was obvious. Without the structure of a defined number of days, many employees become more conservative in their time off requests. And so this is the same logic about what I talk about, how employers don't give you time off because they don't send you out, right? Like, they don't close the office from October to December and everybody's off in such a way that it is structured so that everybody gets that time off, so that everybody actually rests and doesn't work. They, before PTO, it's the same principle, right? So what I'm trying to say is, like, PTO is like the evolved form, like the final form of this, right? Of this immoral practice of implicitly getting rid of time off for employees. The previous version, normal, pay time off, it's the same thing, except that at least you get paid for the days that you don't use, like you get paid for that day, right? When you leave. But it's the same logic. It's the same logic. It's like, well, if we don't give them, right, like if we don't close the office and basically force everybody to leave, right, to be out and take vacation day, people are not going to be inclined to do it, right? Like, people are not going to take days off. And, that's exactly what they're doing. They're counting on that. So yeah, nice to be vindicated by the online oracles, by the artificial intelligence oracles. I didn't need no study. I need no study to know this. I just knew it in my heart, and it turns out that it was true. So yeah, the heart of job stacking. All right, next experiment. All right, no, wait, before next experiment, let me read the chat. The final act before quitting or getting fired at an unlimited time off is to max out the policy. Outrageous excuses valid. Yeah, honestly, I should have, like I told you, like I just didn't think of it. Like, I was not in a scientific mood when I had jobs that use unlimited PTO. But to me, it's a red flag, by the way. Like to me, unlimited PTO is a red flag. I might get another unlimited PTO job just to try this out. But yeah, good to know that you, Brad, that you ran the experiment for me, and that you indeed got fired. We all knew this. Like we're job stackers here. We know what's up. All right. So taking half a day off by calling in sick. So this is the next experiment. Taking a half a day off by calling in sick after the daily stand up and not telling HR about it. So yeah. So this is another experiment that I found. I'm sorry. Another result. You know, another weird thing about employees that I discovered, which is that you can basically get the day off if you have an early daily stand up. You can basically get the day off if you show up to the daily and then wait like an hour or so and just excuse yourself, say that you're not feeling well, and then just never telling HR about it. So it's kind of similar. You can see that a lot of experiments are similar, but they're like different. They have like a twist, right? Like so this one is that you show up to work, you show up to, you know, maybe even say good morning to everybody, right? Like you show up to the first few meetings, right? Like especially, but specifically the daily stand-up, because as we discussed, it's the most sacred of all meetings. It's the daily stand-up is the most sacred of all working practices, of all work practices. So you show up to the daily and then you excuse yourself. You say like, sorry, I'm not feeling well. And what I discovered is that nothing, you know, you get the day off for free, basically. It's another way of getting a day off for free. Again, you can't, this is one of those things where you can't do it often because it creates a pattern. It's very noticeable, right? Like this guy is like showing up to stand up and then, you know, calling in sick. You know, it's like maybe you can do it when it's reasonable, an amount of time for being sick, right? Like you can do it in, you know, a couple of days in a row, but then you can't do it again for months, right? Like, you know, for a very long time. It's very easy to create that pattern, but you can do it to basically, you know, get a day off without, you know, without actually using your, you know, a day, you know, a PTO day, right? So very interesting experiment, very safe, I would say. It's very reasonable, as long as you don't create that pattern. Like I said, as long as you're not like pushing it every week, you're doing this. If you want to do that, refer back to what I said of like just come up with an activity that makes sense, that happen, you know, to happen periodically every week, and that makes sense for that for around that time of the meeting, and then you can basically like excuse yourself out of that meeting for a few months at least. Obviously, but who knows? Who knows how long you last? All right, next experiment. Apply for 2 different roles at the same company the same day. So this is one of those early things that I did, which was just, you know, just send 2 resumes to the same company. Oh, wait, we have another comment here. Your ability to get a job is directly proportional to your ability to attend Zoom meetings on time. Can you explain this one from Job Stacking Twitter? All right, I'll explain it in a little bit. Whenever you take a sick day, always make it a half day to plausibly deny being gone all day. Exactly. Time emails to send late in evening to avoid taking actual days off for banked hours. Yeah, exactly. That's the idea. The idea is that you show up to some part of your job, of your workday, and then you take the rest off. And for whatever reason, they don't take the entire day off. Like it's a loophole. It's like a blind spot that they have, where if you like show up, like you went to work and then you retired, you say that you don't feel well, they don't make it, they don't force you to take the day off or take a sick day. It's kind of like a freebie that you get. So go ahead and take your freebies whenever you get the chance. Just remember not to abuse it. All right, so like I said, apply to 2 different roles at the same company the same day. Yeah, so what happened was that they didn't realize, and I had 2 different recruiters call me the same day. No, it was actually the same recruiter. The same recruiter called me twice, the same number, asking for the 2 different resumes. I interviewed for both. Got one of the jobs. The other one I didn't make it past the interview, but they never caught me. This is a kind of useless experiment. This is kind of like a luxury experiment that I did because I did it just to prove to you guys that recruiters, there's no police, there's no employment police except the IRS, I guess. But that's the income police. It's not the employment police, it's the income police. there's no like recruiter police of like they know you and like they're after you and they remember you and the guys didn't even, the guy didn't even remember, which makes sense, right? Like a phone number is just a collection of random numbers. He didn't realize I use different emails, right? Like the email address is easier to remember, and I just use different versions of my name. So this was to prove you guys like you just have different versions of your name, different email, you're like a completely different individual online. Like there's no ID, there's no world ID for now. There's no world ID, systematic ID that ties your identity to everything, right? And we're just using this to, employment. It's just work, right? Like it's just work. We're not doing anything weird with it. All right, next experiment. Apply with the same name but completely different resume at a company that had previously fired me. All right, so this is an experiment that is incomplete because I didn't hear back from. I heard back from them up to a point. I was, like going through the hiring process, and then they stopped calling me. But because employers are employers, I don't know if it's because they found out, they realized that it was me, or if I just didn't get the job. But basically, the idea again was to prove that at least those initial filters, right? Like it took them work to find out who I am if they caught me. I don't know if they caught me. This is why I said that this is an incomplete experiment because I don't have access to what they saw, right? Like to their conclusion. They just ghosted me, but who knows? Employers ghost for a million reasons. But again, I just did this to prove like, hey, like there's no permanent record and there's no immediate there's no alarms going off like hey like this guy he was already here blacklisted whatever like that doesn't happen, right? It would have been more fulfilling if I had gotten the job and I proved it, but yeah. All right, let's see. Next experiment: having a coworker do my work for me by telling them I'm not sure what to do or how to do the task, but don't communicate this to my boss. So this is very situational. This especially works when you are very new. But yeah, the idea is basically to leverage the lack of communication or like the fact that the encapsulation of or the isolation of communication layers in a company, right? So basically, your boss doesn't know how you're doing the work, right? Like your coworkers don't necessarily know what your work entails, like what you're trying to do. So what I was trying to prove with this experiment is that you could leverage these layers of isolation by, curating specific messages of your boss. You're not telling your boss that, I don't know, like Brad is helping you with this task. You're just like reporting like, yeah, progress is being made on this task. At the same time, you have one of your coworkers, you're asking them questions and basically getting them to complete the task for you. This is not sustainable to do it all the time because the employer, your peer, your colleague will catch on. But if you're like, and you're in a pinch, right? Like you were in an emergency situation, right? Like which is why I did this. I needed to turn in something, and then it took a long time for me to get to the task. And when I did, I realized I didn't know how to do it. So, and I couldn't tell my boss that hey, I just read the thing that you gave me 3 days ago, and it turns out I don't know how to do it. So this is the context of this experiment. I was like, how do I get out of this, right? Like, how do I get out of this situation where I should have like at least be disciplined and check the work, check that I have access, check that I know how to do the thing, so that when I actually sit down and do it, I can do it, right? But I didn't. I was careless, and then like I said, like 3 days happened. The task was already due. I go like, all right, I'm gonna do it. Sit down, don't know how to do it. Have other like three. I had like 4 jobs at the time, so I was like, I have these other 3 jobs. I had like like too much on my mind. I can't do it. So let me see if my friend Brad can. It wasn't Brad, but like I'm just using his name. My friend Joseph. I don't know. Let's see if he can help me out. And usually you can do this again, like once in a while, especially if you're not too well. It's like if you are either too new or too senior. You've been there for a long time, too senior in the company, not necessarily your role. Because there's got to be like either the trust that, hey, poor guy, he doesn't know anything, or like, wow, this guy, he's been here for a long time, so his question must be legitimate, right? So that was the experiment. It worked. He managed. He did my work for me. But again, it's kind of hard to do this sustainably. But nothing bad came of it. Like I was able to turn in the task. I did it again. I repeated again in other jobs. and it worked as well. I was able to turn in the task. Your colleague doesn't resent you, that I could tell, because again, I didn't create a pattern where I'm always going to this person so that they can fix my tickets, my task, right? Like, it's something very pointed. Doing nothing or very little during onboarding. Yeah, so this is something that you can't do today. Onboardings have become way more annoying, and employers a lot less tolerant. But I used to, when times were good, I used to just filter employers by seeing how they behave during onboarding. So you do very little. Like, I would do, barely set up my email so I can see stuff, set up Slack, and then barely do anything else just to see how they behave. And so the cool employers were the ones that were eventually, like, the onboarding just came and went. And then I was grafted onto like a real part of the company, like a real project. And then I could start out, the real start, right? The real beginning. The uncool employers were the ones that I had one employer and this but this wasn't part of the experiment. But I'm just gonna say it. I was once fired the next day or 2 days after they hired me because I didn't ask enough questions, and I wasn't running this experiment. This is that experience was actually what gave me the idea of running this experiment, because I was legitimately going through onboarding and doing the things right, and then all of a sudden they came in and hey, sorry, this is not working out. You're not asking questions. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's been 2 days. And so this gave me the idea of well, let me now test employers. Instead of wasting my time being diligent doing onboarding, let me see how real their onboardings are, right? And so, yeah, so what I found is that most employers don't have an optimized onboarding. It's very different. It's very badly designed. It's just here, read a bunch of documents and sign off to all these policies and do all these stupid trainings. And that's it, right? And then it has nothing to do with your real work. Problem is that I can't recommend doing that now. I used to recommend it all the time. If you go back on my Twitter account and you dig out some older tweets, I'm probably saying yeah, don't do anything during onboarding. It lets you filter out jobs. But right now, it's the availability of jobs, getting a fully remote job is a lot more difficult than it was when I was recommending this. So right now I recommend hey, just be diligent during onboarding, because they're really looking at you. They've gotten a lot more micromanaging the past 2 years. All right, doing nothing very little. All right, next experiment: have someone impersonate me on a call. This is just for pure science. This is just to again prove that employers don't really pay attention. But I don't think it was going to be sustainable in the long term. I know of some cases of people that I've worked with that they have a twin brother. They had a twin brother, and they could get away with it more because obviously for obvious reasons, identical twin, of course, identical twin. And so, but yeah, so if you don't have an identical twin, there's very little to gain by this. I've also seen other people basically give they got the jobs themselves. They interviewed. And then they gave the job fully, even meetings, in-person meetings, to somebody else. But it's very risky. I don't recommend it. I just tried it basically for science, for the lulz, how we used to say back in the day of forums before social media. We used to say for the lulz. All right, next experiment. A day before starting a new job, request to start a day later, then repeat. So this is another one of those experiments. What I don't recommend. It was just again for shits and giggles. I basically got a new job. Was supposed to start on Monday, and then on Sunday we tell them hey, sorry, I can't start on Monday. Can I start on Tuesday? And then they would say yes. And then on Monday we'd say hey, sorry, I can't start on Tuesday. Can I start on Wednesday? Yes. And eventually they just let me go. They rescinded the offer. Other times they would tell me no, you can't start on Tuesday. You would have to start the next week or the next 2 weeks, because they do onboarding on batch, and so yeah, so this is a kind of pointless experiment. I just did it to see what happened, how employers react. They're usually very good about accommodating you. Oh well, so this wasn't useless. So what you can learn from this is that you can't push your start date without repercussion at least once, right? Like at the very least once. I could reasonably foresee or see that somebody getting away with it, because I did, up to like 3-4 times. But after that, they're either going to rescind the offer or like just tell you like, hey, what's going on? What's going on, big guy? Do you want to start? You want to start a month from now or something? Yeah, like you can do it if there's like, for whatever reason. Like I did it recently, actually. I pushed the start date of 2 jobs because I was out on a trip and I didn't realize that like the dates overlapped. Like it was a big oversight on my part. So I just told them like, hey, so I can't start. Let's move it, and nothing happened. But they moved the start dates. Just know that you can play that card if you need to. It's not terribly useful experiment, but somewhat useful. Next experiment: be on meetings but never say anything. Always just interact by text. All right, so this is another kind of useful experiment. Yeah, so what I did was show up to meetings diligently, on time, but then always have trouble with my microphone. Like, when I say always have trouble, I don't mean new problems with the microphone. It's like my microphone is broken. I haven't gotten a new one. My camera is broken, or I mean, maybe I could have the camera on, right? I did it several times. Usually nothing happens. Usually they're very understanding. Eventually, they will ask you to like fix your mic or get a new one. And then you can get it, if they're good, you can get some money to buy some equipment. But in case, if you're in a tight spot, again, like if you're trying, you got a new job and you're trying to make it fit, right? And maybe you're having more meetings because during onboarding, there are a lot of more meetings, and you want to ease some of the tension of dealing with this other job that you have. You can try this of just joining the meetings and then typing everything, right? Just interacting via text. Just announce like, hey, yeah, I'm having trouble with my microphone, so I'm just going to interact via text. Usually, nothing happens. I run a different version of this experiment quite successfully, actually, before I discovered what Baha Brad told me about. No, wait, Baha Brad didn't tell me about this. Before you told me about the firewall and that stuff, and I was thinking of the KVM switch over IP. So before I discovered the KVM switch over IP, whenever I subcontracted one of my jobs, and like it required a laptop, and I had to give the laptop to the subcontractor. If we had a meeting and I had to share my screen, which I couldn't because I was using my personal computer and I had nothing from the job, what I would say is something like, hey, the microphone on the computer that I'm going to share the screen from is not working, right? So I'm going to connect from this other device. So basically, I'm going to have 2 profiles in the call, right? Like I'm going to connect from this other device, and this one I share my screen. And so I use that so that the person sharing the screen was my subcontractor, right? And they were like microphone disabled, camera disabled, so there were no accidents. And then I would just like be the intermediate, like in the call, and interact. Either via text or something like that, or tell the subcontractor if I couldn't make it to the call, just interact via text, right? Like, so that's what I would tell them. Like, just tell them that the camera and the microphone are off, like, or that they're not working, they're broken. So, but that you can hear them, and so that you're going to interact via text. So this helped me deal with those type of situations. It can be very tense because eventually they do get annoyed that you don't have a camera or you don't have a microphone. But other employers don't care, and maybe you don't have as many meetings where you have to share your screen. But yeah, so it's just easier right now. I discovered the KVM over IP switch. It makes things a lot easier. But yeah, there's a useful experiment. This is why I do things so that you don't have to, or that you learn what works. Actually, you can do this. This is one of the things that you can do. Let me see. Next experiment. Agree to turn my camera on during meetings, then simply not. This is something that I talk about all the time. Do not antagonize the camera on people. Just tell them that you're going to do it, and then just don't do it. And they have to bring it up again, like, hey, turn your camera on, turn your camera on. If it's important, that's what I always say. Employers make all sorts of claims that are really not important, right? So if the thing that they're asking you to do is important, they'll remind you, and they'll remind you again, and they'll remind you a third time. So cameras on, guys. That doesn't mean that you have to have your camera on. Just don't fight it. Don't be antagonistic. Don't tell them, no, I'm not. I don't want to turn my camera on. Why do I have to turn my camera on? Just say like, yeah, sure. Maybe even turn your camera on a few times in good faith, and then just don't do it, and nothing happens. And so my two favorite jobs right now actually started like that. They started camera on. I said, cool. For a few weeks or even the first month or so, I was cameras on all the time, got them used to my face, and then I simply stopped turning the camera on. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Like sometimes I randomly turn my camera on to remind them or something, to remind them of my face. But the rest of the time is just cameras off, and nothing happens, right? So this just shows you that a lot of people, because I get a lot of comments, a lot of questions online about this, like camera on. Oh my God, I'm so stressed with the camera on. Just turn it on a little bit and then just turn it off. Nothing happens. Like it's like they can't hurt you. Like just turn it off. They can't hurt you. It's like the meme of online bullying. It's the same thing. Like just turn it off. All right, so next experiment. We're almost finished with the list. Gone on international trips without taking a day off or letting anyone at work know. I've talked about this before, and that this is my new filter for employers. Any employer that doesn't let me just go on a trip, a week and a half or 2 weeks just traveling and without letting them know, and they like catch me, or they get annoyed that I didn't show up to whatever meeting, or that my work slowed down. I just like call them, like just this is not a good fit for an employer. Just again, but you can do this without that, not necessarily with that mentality of wanting to basically filter out employers, but you can still, when you're properly set up, right? This is one of the great benefits of job stacking, not only job stacking, but of remote work. You can just do it. You can just travel, and Brad here can attest to that. You can just go on a trip, and you can, being in the office would never, like office work would never allow you to do something like this, obviously, because you have to be in the office. So remote work is worth so much more than just like whatever difference in money they want to pay, whatever difference in salary somebody going to the office, or whatever career opportunities you have or that you're missing because of remote work. Like it's just worth so much more. All right. Be very confrontational and not comply with requests. Yes, this got me fired pretty quickly, but you can use this tactically actually, no, hold on. I'm thinking of something else. When I say be very confrontational and not comply with requests, I don't mean that I was confrontational when I was saying no to complying to the request. I was confrontational in the fact of like, why do I have to do this now? Can I do this later? That sort of stuff. Still not good. Eventually if it's not important, it doesn't matter. But if you are basically not complying with stuff that is important, eventually they just fire you, right? Conversely, I was very meek and complied on requests quickly. Nothing special about this. This is probably what most people do. The point of these two experiments back to back is basically to show that you can be a little bit, like there is a middle ground, basically. That's the point of this. You don't have to reply immediately, comply immediately with everything that they request. There is some room for you to say like, ignore them, or to like confront them about like, hey, I'm going to do this later. I'm going to do this when I get to it, right? Just never be rude, never, very important. Like when I say confrontational, I mean like attitude. Like I don't mean like in my words, like I was demeaning anybody or like insulting anybody, because that makes no sense. Like that's a stupid experiment, right? But just be very like not compliant, basically. Like do not be complicit in your own enslavement, in their humiliation rituals, right? Like just be like, the typical experiment, the canonical example of what I mean is like when an employer asks you to update your LinkedIn so that it reflects that you work for them. Yeah, I won't do it. I don't have a LinkedIn. I don't use LinkedIn. I don't want to open a LinkedIn account. But you have a LinkedIn. We spoke on LinkedIn. Yeah, but I don't update it. I don't keep it up to date. I don't like it, right? Like it was just luck that day that we spoke, right? That type of confrontational stuff. I don't go like, I hate, LinkedIn is stupid. Why do you want me to do this? Are you an idiot? Like I'm never going to do this. Like that sort of stuff. Like being a brat. I'm not talking about being a brat. I'm talking about Yeah, or well, this is not part of that experiment of like just like I've told you, hey, yeah, do the thing, like or I will do the thing, and then just don't do it, right? Um, all right, so this last three, so we're down to the last three, are some of my favorites. So volunteer to do some task, then don't do it and never bring it up again. So this is a class. I've gotten away with this a lot. Never gotten fired. Never gotten in trouble because I'm volunteering to do something, right? And if it's like a volunteer thing, it's usually not that important. Otherwise, it would be like a formal task, and it would be on like the backlog, and somebody would be taking care of it. But usually, it's like, hey, yeah, I'll totally do this, and then just like never bring it up again. No, usually nothing happens. Have HR complete paperwork for me by refusing to do it myself or waiting until close or past the deadline. So this is another thing that I discovered, which is that this is again with like the non-compliance stuff. I hate doing work for the employer, like bureaucracy for the employer, like additional work. And what I'm talking about is specifically before you join a new company, before you start, they want you to start doing a bunch of stuff. Like they want you to send them a bunch of documents, log in into the new email. And it's like, honey, that's work. Like you gotta pay me to do that stuff. Wait until the start date. And so what I would do is like just don't do any of that. And then if they really needed it before my start date, they would have to do it themselves. I would tell them like, sorry, I'm not available. I can't send you. I don't remember what it was. Something related to like insurance and some other stuff like stuff like this. They always are. They're always asking for stuff. And so I would just like, no, like, I would not tell them this, but my logic was, this is work. You're not paying me to do this. Wait until the start date, my actual start date, and then you are paying me to do this stuff. I still don't like it. I don't think we should do it, but at least it's like, you can make you have the justification that you're getting paid for it. And then what I found is that, yeah, if it's important, they'll just have to file it for you. Like the same with doctor's note. That's the other thing. Whenever they did remember to get, to ask me for the doctor's note, they didn't forget. Like I would have like basically like, or not the doctor's note. Like I would have to upload it to some whatever system. I would show them the doctor's note, right? Like I would be like, here's the doctor's note. I sent it to you, HR lady. Please do the thing on your system. They would come back like, no, you have to do it yourself through our system. And then I would just be like, never do it. And then it was like they had to do some like report or whatever. And so they had to do it basically. So what I'm trying to say is like when you sometimes don't comply with those tasks, and they're forced to do them themselves because it's actually their job. Like this is the point of this experiment. Those type of requirements are actually HR's job. Is not your job. Your job is to hand out whatever it is that they need, right? Whatever information it is that they need specifically, right? That they can't get themselves, right? So if it's something that they can get themselves, they're just wanting you to do their job for them, right? And if it's something that they can't get themselves, and so they need your cooperation. Your cooperation does not mean that you have to go through their systems, whatever bureaucratic steps they have, right? Whatever Bamboo, whatever ADP, etc. It's like it's their job to get it on the system. And so basically, I would let them know in more or less words that this is what's happening. Like, hey, honey, I gave you the thing that you need. This is your job. Like, put it in the system. I don't have to put it in the system. So yeah, a little bit petty, but like when there's when you have contempt for employers and you have so many, you run this type of experiments. All right, so last one, very similar to the previous one, or to the previous to last one. Propose some new task or work that needs to be researched. Work on it for a week or two, and then say it can actually be done. I've done this a million times. It works like a charm. Just say like, hey, I'm going to research if whatever this system is compatible with this other thing that we have, and so maybe we can do X practice. Achieve X, whatever best practice, and then sure, like go ahead and do it, and then just come back a week later. Oh, sorry, can't be done. Can't be done. Sorry, then that's it. Like it's very similar to like volunteer to do a task and then just don't bring it back up again. But this is more like, hey, I'm going to research this other stuff. then you did some work, you report work on it. Like the difference is that you're reporting progress, like work on it, and then the conclusion is like, oh, sorry, it can be done. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for the 2 weeks of pay of me doing very, very, very little. So yeah, so those are my experiments that I can remember. Maybe like I'll remember some more after the Q&A or during the Q&A. But yeah, I officially end the lecture part of this live stream. And even though we're a little bit over time, like I always promise a live Q&A session. So here we are, opening 2 questions. All right, so what is the best way to pass the coding interview without endlessly grinding lead code? So I talked about it in a previous lecture. So basically the idea is lead code is another one of those inhuman and just inefficient practices, because lead code is just machine, like it doesn't evaluate humans, it evaluates machines. It's a very machine bias type of thing. And the proof is that our artificial intelligence systems, LLMs, are very, very good at lead code. Like they're the best at lead code. So it's when a computer is so good, right? Like so orders of magnitude better, right, than humans at something, that usually tells me like, well, the task itself is not, or like the format is very, what's the word? Like it's crystallized in such a shape that it no longer has like a spark of humanity in it. So what I recommend about coding interviews without endlessly grinding lead code is to leverage AI. Now, how do you do it? There are some tools out there. I talked about it in a previous stream. I think it was not recorded. There's like this new tool that this kid from Colombia, he got expelled from Colombia for developing this tool, basically, which is like Interview Coder or something like that, which is like, it's an app that you have to pay. It's a SaaS, right? So you have to pay a subscription, but it puts on an overlay, an invisible overlay over your desktop, over your desktop, over your screen. And that overlay is connected to some AI. I don't know which in particular. I don't know if it's Claude. I don't know if it's ChatGPT. But basically, what it does, like what this program does, is like you send screen captures of the program through this overlay to the system, and then the system gives you the answer in this. Like it's basically like you have like an invisible screen with the answer while you're sharing your screen, right? So that's like the paid way to do it. If you want to try that out, like I recommended it, like it seemed pretty cool. Like I tested it out. It's good. The problem is that number one, you have to pay for it. Number two, it could stop working whenever not employers, but like companies like Google or Zoom or whatever develop measures to counter it, or they buy him out of the market. It's just easier to have things under your control. So what I recommend is having your phone have ChatGPT. Oh, you know about him, Brad. Like that guy's a genius and pissed off so many big lame employers. Amazon, yeah, he did it to Amazon, and Amazon was so butthurt. Basically, they were so hurt that they ratted him out to Colombia, and Colombia had to. Amazon threatened Colombia with never hiring anybody from Colombia again, and so they had to fire him. So anyway, like I said, like it's a solution. I tried it. For now, it works. You have to pay for it. Maybe there's like a cracked version or something. I want to like create our own version of it here, like for you guys, but I don't have it yet. So just go ahead and use it. But trust in your maverick or whatever skills, like your own self. What I recommend is like having ChatGPT on your phone or whatever other AI you like, and then simply position your camera in such a way that you can basically bring up, like I'm going to exaggerate here, but like you can bring up your phone. Like right now I have it like up here. Like right now I have it like here. Like so that you can bring up your phone in a way that you can take a picture of the problem, of the lead code problem, and send it to ChatGPT on your phone. And that's it. Like that's your overlay, right? Like that's your free overlay. That's like your your organic or organic free reign overlay, interview coder software. So let me take a picture. All right, so I'm gonna take a picture of the screen today, and you're gonna see like, so I'm gonna look at the camera, So you can see it here. So this is because of how I have positioned my camera on my computer. See, you can't see my phone on the screen, right? Like this is important. You can't see my phone on the screen. You can't see my hand. My hand's over here. You can even do this, right? But look, you're gonna see how clear I can take a picture of the screen. And here you go. See, that's today. Kind of. I don't know if you can. I don't know how. I don't know how well you can see it, but hold on. But I just took that picture, and so as you can see, my phone's not. You can't see my phone, and so you just send the picture of the problem to the AI, have it solved, and have it solve it, and just type the solution, right? Like something else that I do to look more human, because it's very rare for somebody to just like in one go without making any mistakes, like solving something in one setting. So what I would do is like type one line, type a couple lines, then delete again, then write something else to make it seem more human, basically. But that's what I do. I don't pay anybody to do this. It's a very low tech. I mean, it's high tech, low tech. It's high low, and it's free, basically. Free beyond the what you already have to pay for an AI subscription. And this works with any other type of like question, like that where you need to like share your screen and it's like a complicated technical problem. This does not work for conversational interviews. Just let me clarify. You cannot just take, how would it work, right? Like I strongly believe that conversational interviews, you cannot rely on AI in the moment. You can rely on AI before and after the interview. But in the interview, it has to all be you. You have to come through. You have to be charming, charming, and eloquent, right? And so if you don't know what you're talking about during the interview, AI is not going to help you. Let me see. So let me answer this question for now. I know you not taking insurance is a red flag, but JT uses the same insurance company as J1, so I don't think that is an option. I think I have to waive coverage. If they ask, I will tell them I have coverage through the VA. If you have coverage through the VA for real, then go ahead. Off the top of my head, I don't remember if there's any additional checks that you have to provide. Usually, you do have to provide something else like proof of coverage. So this is the problem when waiving coverage, right? When you waive coverage and you don't have other insurance you do have other insurance, but the problem is that it's going to be tied to the employer, so you can't use that. But you can't just make up like, yeah, I'm covered through my spouse, or I'm covered through VA affairs or whatever. VA or Veterans Affairs. You have to. They're going to ask for some proof of that. So what I would do in your situation is either take the coverage, because even though it's the same company, it's the same insurance company. I know it feels very risky, but it's the same insurance company. But because you're getting it through a different employer, sometimes there is overlap. So there are no red flags for the insurance company as long as you maintain. So you will not have problems unless you double dip, right? Like if you get confused and use one policy and then another and that sort of stuff. Like, so you can just have the two insurance, like the two coverages, right? Like the two plans from the two employers, even if it's the same insurance company, but commit to only using one and be very disciplined about it. Do not use one and then the other, because then the insurance company is going to be weirded out, right? But like, passively on their system showing that some guy has insurance over here, another insurance over there, by itself nothing happens, right? But that is not my preferred solution. This is like what I'm just telling you is like, if you have no other choice, ask them if you can get an HSA or FSA account instead set up. HSAs are just basically the safest option at this point. Like I used to recommend waiving coverage until employers got really annoying about like this, like, well, it shows your proof of coverage as if it was their business. And it just like proving the coverage became too much of a hassle. And so right now, the best option is actually to go with an HSA because it just basically like you can't have an HSA or HSA money in the account if you're covered by insurance. But nothing happens if you do. You just pay some additional tax to the IRS, or you take out the money. There's no penalty to do so. Just take out the money because it's not compliant, and then you just declare it as income, basically as taxable income. Nothing happens. The employer is not liable for anything in this process, so nothing gets reported back to them. It's just the best option. HSA, FSA, try to get that. If they don't offer it, that there's no option, you have to take the coverage or no coverage at all, then just take it and don't commit to using only one and be very disciplined about it. Covered through spouse always works if you have it. Like if you're actually covered through spouse, like you can prove it. See, he's not married. And again, okay, I see the change here. So yeah, so if you are an actual veteran, you can probably a double dipping HSA is illegal. It's not illegal. It's just like a compliance issue. So let me correct you on that, Brad. Like it's not illegal. It's just non-compliant. So it's just an issue of like the IRS will like tax the money in the account until it's empty, or you empty it out and then declare the money as taxable income. But it's totally fine to have like an insurance policy and an HSA at the same time. It's just like, again, the HSA is going to be non-compliant, but nobody's going to find out. Like it's just a matter of you being in compliance with the IRS, and you will be compliant with the IRS because you will follow my advice and take out the money and declare it as taxable income, or you will just leave it in the account and pay the excise tax until the account is empty. So we have Baha Brad here. He's the resident expert on working U.S. jobs from outside the United States. Or you can take whatever combination of countries you want. Like he's basically an expert in working for whatever country from outside of that country, right? What he knows applies to any combination of countries that you want. So like if you're from like Argentina and you want to work Argentinian jobs from outside of Argentina, he's your guy. So yeah, he's here to answer any questions that you guys may have. So if you want to direct a question to Brad, just do @Baha Brad, and he'll answer the question. So your ability to get a job is directly proportional to your ability to attend Zoom meetings on time. Yeah, so this is basically about you being on time to meetings. The Zoom stuff, you can replace it by whatever other tool you like, or even in-person calls. So one of the things that we notice with basically our qualification team, our sales team, when you get on a call to join this program, there are many unqualified people, right? So not everybody that schedules a call with us and has the money to pay, we allow them on this program, right? Like you are vetted. There is a qualification process, and so one of the things that we started to notice when we basically opened things up to the wider internet is that people just schedule meetings and then don't show up on time, or schedule meetings and they take it from their cars, which taking it from the car can be somewhat acceptable in today's world. I don't recommend it, right? Like if you can help it, and if you take it from the car, apologize profusely, like make it explicit, like, hey, I know I'm taking this from my car. It shouldn't, but I just didn't have time to get home, whatever. Just apologize for it, right? Like what's the name? Like lampshaded, right? Like make it explicit. But people, just take calls from their cars while they're eating. They take calls when there's like children screaming, running around, and they take the call like this. Take a call like this. Hello. Oh, like this. Yeah, I'm interested in job stacking. and so like that immediately tells us like, hey, you're not ready for remote work, right? Like we've been discussing about like how sacred the daily stand-up is and all the little shenanigans that I've played. But like you can, the one thread you can basically get out of that in my experiments is like meetings are very, very important. So you have to take them, you have to be very professional about them. You have to be on time. You have to have low background noise. You have to be a acceptable background behind you, right? So that's basically what the Job Stacking Twitter account is referring to. It's like if you just can't take a Zoom meeting, right? Like you don't know how Zoom works. You don't know how any of it works. It's like, how are you going to work remotely, man? Like you're not going to be able to work remotely. If your employer does background checks from time to time, will they catch your other jobs? I heard something about the work number. Yes, they will catch your other jobs. I remember you, Bill. I remember that was a big concern, while we were working with you. There are things that you can do, right? Basically, Try to time it right so that it doesn't coincide with the background check. But I mean, your question, will they catch you? It's like they won't necessarily catch you. So let me clarify. But employers running background checks, constantly does kind of throw a wrench into the whole process. You have to be extra careful. You have to time the start a new job after the background check happened, and you have to if you have to make decisions very quickly about like, hey, if the second job I don't like it, I don't want to keep it. I don't want to keep it while another background check is going to happen. But it's not a guarantee, right? Because usually when employers run background, like there's a difference between a background check and like an employment check. Sometimes they are conflated. Sometimes they employers say that they're going to do a background check and they're going to do both, and a background and employment check. What we would have to do is make sure, right, that they're not running an employment check, right, which doesn't make sense to me. According, I remember your situation. I remember telling you some of the advice was like, hey, I don't think they're actually going to run employment check, but the next time that they run a background check, let's get together to see the language that they use. The reason is that if they're just going to run like your criminal background and that sort of stuff, it doesn't really matter. They can run that a million times and nothing suspicious is going to come up regarding job stacking. But if they're going to run employment checks, which is very weird because you're already supposed to be employed, right? And it costs extra money to run an employment check. It's still like, it's not necessarily something that, you will be caught, but the risks are bigger. And because that background check could cost you the job that you have, we need to be very, very careful about it, right? Like extra careful. If the background check was just like a normal background check where you're just trying to get another job, and even if you fail it, even if they find out that you have however many jobs, 2 jobs, it doesn't matter because it won't cost you the other jobs, right? So it's just it's a very delicate situation. I remember your situation very, very well. So it's just a matter of verifying, making sure that it's a background check, not an employment check. If it's an employment check, having all your ducks in a row about, like the work number, that sort of stuff. And yeah, had a coworker take a call from a campsite at a national park. Yeah. I was going to make a video about like, should you turn, like, I don't know. It was something like should you turn your camera on during calls if you're like you're in a cafe or something, like you're in Starbucks or something? Because I remember that like do you guys remember like a year ago there was this video of like this call went viral of like a group call, and one of there was this like Asian chick that she took the call and she was like out, and everybody called her out on it, like, hey, where are you? Right? And I don't know, like that. I don't know if you guys remember. I remember it because that gave me the idea, like, hey, maybe I should talk about like, hey, is it okay for you to take calls outside? And yeah, she was in a salon. Exactly. She wasn't in a like a Starbucks or something. She was in a salon, and everybody called her out on it. And I was like, man, like just. If you're gonna be in a salon, like turn your camera off, right? So that was my video idea. I never did it, but I guess I'm doing it now, which is like, yeah, don't take calls from weird places unless they know you're gonna be at that place, right? Like unless you ask permission first, like you gave them notice, like, hey, I'm gonna be in this place at this time, so I'm gonna have to take the call. And even then, don't turn the camera on. Like everybody knows that you're not in the office, you're not in a good place. Do not rub it in their faces, right? So just turn your camera off. But you can't turn your camera off for job interviews, right? Like so, or for qualification, sales calls, that sort of thing. So yeah, cameras on, be on time. Zoom, remember that Zoom sometimes updates, and it updates before the meeting. It's to give you an option. I took a call from a train station in Europe, had no choice. Told them I was at a loud Turkish coffee house with a camera off. Yeah. Can you go over the new way to find jobs? I remember something about applying and also reaching out to the hiring manager. You did not lose the job. That's great, Brad. Awesome. Yeah, like I told you, like it depends. Like camera off, noise. It's a lot different than camera on and being in a salon like a Disneyland or something. If, by the way, if you're the boss, if you're the owner of the company, you can totally do that. Like you can totally take a call from a salon. As a matter of fact, they'll call you. Like they'll say that you work like 80 hours, 140 hours a week or something. They'll call you brave. They'll call you like really entrepreneurial. If you're the boss and you take a call from a salon, wow, you're a really hard worker, man. Congratulations. You as a lower, as a normal employee, you take a call from a salon. Yeah, you're a lazy bum and you need to be fired. Can you go over the new? Okay, so the new approach is based on the fact that people are not getting interviews not because there are no jobs and AI took all the jobs or whatever. It's because the pipeline, the system that connected candidates with employers or recruiters is completely broken because of the advent of mass AI application tools. So right now you have many of these tools in the market where one guy can send hundreds, if not thousands, of applications per day. There are people that just spam this and they have no sense of self-awareness or shame, and so they don't realize that if they're just spamming applications, they through these tools sometimes don't they send like nonsense applications in the sense that it's not a good fit, right? Like they're just sending whatever, like it's just a white net, right? Like it's not fine-grained, fine-tuned. And so basically what this has caused is that every job opening in the market just gets flooded with nonsense applications. It's not like they get flooded with qualified candidates. And so employees are so happy and they're like swimming in talent. It's like they're also frustrated by this. They get just a ton of resumes. It takes a lot of work to go through them because there's no, contrary to many myths out there, there's no AI automated resume system on the part of employers. It's usually humans going through the resumes. And so the point of this is that, if a job posting gets 200 applications, right, being conservative, a human has to go, is in charge of finding the right candidate. They're not going to read the 200 applications. They're probably going to go with the first 30. If they can't find anybody that's a good match in those 30 applications, maybe they'll expand the search to the next 10, right? But the point is that let's say that they do find a candidate within the 30, or even the first 100 applications, right? Like let's say that, a needle in a haystack, they did find that one candidate in the 100 applications that they received. They're going to stop. They're not going to go like, yeah, all right, so let me see more options. The next 200 applications. No, they're just going to stop. So like if you were application number 101, which you don't know, you have no control over that, then they didn't read, like you didn't even get a chance, right? They didn't even read your thing. So it doesn't matter. So the paradox of these tools is that they basically created a bunch of haystacks in order to find a needle, right? Like, so it's not that they created one haystack, or they created a bunch of haystacks in order to find one needle. And so the new approach, what it does is like it forgoes being in queue, being in line, right? Like begging, or praying that the recruiter will get to your resume, which he probably won't. And you're basically, the new approach is just basically, job stacking, maverick rogue behavior 101. Skip the line. Like just skip the line. Don't be in line. Being in lines for losers. Skip the line and email directly the hiring manager. Walk into the office and give the manager a firm handshake and look them in the eye, right? Like that's the modern version of the new approach. You do this by doing some detective work, researching who is the hiring manager or who is the recruiter in charge of the job that you're interested in, and emailing. You still apply normally, but you email them directly. You present yourself. You basically send your cover letter and your resume, and you tell them why you would be a great match. Will this get you answers? Like, will every recruiter respond to this approach? No, but enough of them will, so that what we've seen is that it basically guarantees people getting interviews. And then if you're good at interviewing, it basically guarantees that you get jobs. I'm currently working on trying to automate this a little bit, not slop, right? So like, again, I've said this a million times, I'm not AI skeptic. I'm a slop hater, right? So I want to use AI how it should be used. So, and I mean, I can get this into a whole thing. I think the proper use of machines and AI and things like AI is by having a human heart. So if you think about like if you think about like the example like a robot, if you think about like Japanese anime, like in Japanese anime, the robots are never controlled by AI. Usually, when they're controlled by AI, they're the bad guys. It's always a human inside the machine. It's always a human inside the robot inside the machine. So it's kind of like the same thing with AI now. It's like you don't want AI to be the heart of what you do. You want it to be the armor, right? Or you want it to be the tool, or you want it to be the sword, the shield that you use, something like that, right? So the human has to be in the middle. Like it has to be something that you wear, basically, if that makes sense what I'm saying. Like AI, all these tools, the automation, it can't substitute the core of what you are or what you have to offer. It can only be a suit of armor that you put on, if that makes sense. Okay. So that's the way I see AI. So I'm trying to automate this system for for the people in the program in a way that it doesn't produce slop. It is not contributing to this clogging, slopification of everything, but specifically the job market. Hi, Brad. Thanks for hopping on the stream. What's the best place you've worked remotely outside of the United States and why?
Testing. Can you hear me, Ralph?
Oh, shit, you guys are talking.
Hello.
Oh, all right. There you are.
All right. Can you hear me, Ralph?
Yeah, we can hear you.
The best place I worked abroad was Italy. And I'll tell you why. Because when you are working a US based job in Europe, you are in an entirely different time zone. You're a time traveler. You're already awake when they're asleep. And as a result of that, your mornings are your free time. Your lunch is essentially when you start working. And your dinner is your lunch break, so to speak. And as a result of that, I could drink wine while I'm working and not feel like a total bum. I could go to tourist attractions while all the Europeans are at work. And so, because of this arbitrage of opportunity, it was by far my favorite place to work. I would not recommend that. However, a caveat: I would not recommend doing that if you're the kind of guy that wants to go clubbing or bar hopping, whatever. You're gonna crash out because when your friends are at the club, you're still working. So necessarily, you're gonna give up on the gas pedal of your jobs. And unless you're a giga brain like Rolf and you've subcontracted everything out, then you're kind of screwed. And I mean, but I would still do it as an experience. I would do a couple months in Europe and just get that time zone arbitrage, which is a very cool thing to do.
Absolutely. I might try it. I have to travel to Europe soon. I might, because I'm gonna try the passport stacking as well. We gotta stack everything except wives. That's too. I'm not go there. Oh, we have another question. How do you handle U.S. regional insurance when working abroad? Good
So
question.
when you say insurance, you're talking about health insurance, I'm assuming. I don't have insurance. The place I live in, I don't need it. If something bad happens to me, I'm going to pay cash. I live in Baja California, Sur, Mexico, and we have great quality health care here. You can pay out of pocket. I'm also a veteran, so if I get really fucked up, I'll just go back to the United States and hit up a regional VA office.
Awesome. That is something that's very important. Like the rest of the world has. I don't know if the rest of the world, but definitely Europe and Latin America, they have very decent medical systems, very decent doctors. Like if you're thinking of like the public system, then yeah, probably not. But like private clinics, private doctors, they're usually very good, and a lot of them study in the United States. So you're basically getting highly qualified people for a lot less. And a lot of the times, you're also just you're not dealing with very complex stuff. Like if I was going to get surgery, like really complex surgery, yeah, maybe I do want to go to like the expert and the doctor house or whatever in the United States. But if it's like routine stuff, like just going to get a dental cleaning or something like that, like going to the eye doctor or whatever, it's like, dude, like just a guy that went to a good school and like it's just has a good reputation. It's fine.
Absolutely. And that, not to go off track here, but what you just described and what I described is one of the benefits of not living in the continental United States, where you are not subject to the insurance scam. And I have never taken employer health insurance since I started job stacking 3.5 years ago. I have never been challenged by HR. I've used the excuse of spouse insurance, VA coverage,
Awesome.
TRICARE, and nobody has ever questioned me or flagged that as a risk. As a matter of fact, when I work on a contract, I tell them straight up, I do not want your benefits because, well, you laugh, but what that
No,
does
it's great. It's great.
I think you're going to like what I'm about to say. When you strip out benefits as a contractor, you can demand more cash compensation.
Absolutely.
And cash is king, baby. We don't need these bullshit health benefits I'm never going to use in the United States. So I demand more money up front. And actually, a lot of companies like that because you're not a draw on their benefits.
That's right. Sometimes the benefits can be even more of a burden than just giving you a little bit more cash.
Absolutely. And it reduces your tethers to the employer. The biggest reason that my friends have said they don't want a job stack is because they're worried about getting found out and losing their benefits and their health insurance. And I feel for them. I understand from a conceptual standpoint, but it just reinforces the dichotomy of employment is like, I don't know if this is the right term, but like carceral employment or slavery. It's like there's so many tethers to like your life. Like, I don't care about health insurance. Like, no disrespect to that question. It's a very valid question, Mark. But it's like, I totally forgot about health insurance till you just mentioned it, to be honest. It hasn't even crossed my mind since this year started, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we discussed this in depth on the last stream, which was the veteran stream, which is not recorded. And I went on a whole tangent, or the entire group went on a whole tangent on employment, wage slavery. And I guess I can get into this now that it is recorded, which is that the system is very satanic, like demonic in very specific ways, in the sense of like one of the greatest prides of the modern world and the modern system and the modern powers is that they got rid of slavery. Like, oh, we abolished slavery. Like the British, we were so, so moral that we got rid of slavery. We Christians, we got rid of slavery. And it's like, no, we didn't. Like we got rid of a type of slavery, which was chattel slavery for sure. Like that doesn't exist, at least in the West anymore. But we got drafted, like the entire population of the Western Hemisphere got drafted into this wage slavery deal, which was like preposterous. Like wage slavery was considered very low status in the past. Like you were considered worse than a beggar. Like you were you were an orphan. You were a widow. Like wage slavery was not. I'm sorry, wage labor was not considered like this thing of like, oh, I'm free because I can, get, paid for my work. It's like, it was very low status. And, Lash writes about this, AJ loves Lash, and you can see that, you can read it in history that when the factories were expanding and basically forcefully recruiting people from the fields and giving them wages, right? People rightfully rebelled. Like they thought that they were correctly getting enslaved. Like the way, getting rid of the common lands, right? Like or the common fields that they use, right, for subsistence, for their subsistence economy, or their subsistence. It was seen as an attack. Like it was seen as like they were infringing upon their freedoms and enslaving them, and they were correct. So we live in a mass slavery system that prides itself in the fact that it has brought unprecedented freedom to everybody, when it's the complete opposite. Like we have never worked more, we have never been less free. And job stacking, like you're still in wage slavery, but you're doing something about it, right? Like you are being less dependent on, you're cutting fetters. You're not completely unfettered, but you're cutting fetters here and there, and eventually you will reach enough, you will reach escape velocity to get rid of, like, to not be a wage labor anymore. But yeah, wage slavery. I'm sorry, I keep calling it wage slavery, which is redundant. But the wage labor was and is slavery. It's just another type of slavery. We got rid of one particular type of slavery, the plantation, the chattel slavery, but then another mass slavery system was instituted. And that's on the Western Hemisphere. On the Eastern Hemisphere, there's real slavery. There's like more traditional, like slavery that's more in your face, like that we would recognize more explicitly as slavery. Like companies, use child labor, sweatshops all over Asia. So it's like, give me a break that we got rid of slavery and that we're so moral and that we're so good. It's like, no, man, like we live in there's probably never been more slavery than there is now, to be honest.
Rolf, I think that the poster child for this in the United States is Amazon. They are known at every level of the job. The person at the warehouse, your corporate manager, it is a grind. It's a brutal place that is not meant for the human body and soul. And as an example, when I graduated, I was flown out to interview with Amazon. The only reason I did it was I wanted a free trip to a cool metro where they were holding it. I had no intention of working for them. So shout out Amazon, F you. But basically the job, every aspect of the job was a carefully curated way to keep your best years of your working life at the company. The compensation was heavily dependent on stock options with, if I remember it, a 7-year vest. So essentially these kids, if you're 22, you're vesting at 29, you're totally wrecked mentally, probably physically. You probably have a shitty home life. And okay, cool, I've got a couple $100,000, but like your best years of your life are totally eaten up. Amazon was one of the first companies to do the RTO BS. They were one of the loudest companies to return to an office. Doesn't matter if you were hired remotely. So, I mean, that's like the poster child for this system. I mean, they're horrible. They're completely evil.
Yeah, and you get money. You don't, back in the past, like when you were freed, you either gain your freedom or that came with land, right? Like you owe, you have some acres now, so you are a free man. Like now they just give you money, and the money, it's like, well, what do I do with this? Right? Like you can't. Like, all right, a couple $100,000. Okay, I can't even buy a house cash with this. Right? Like maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I think though, and this is kind of where I have put my own spin on this, is during COVID, I kind of woke up to all that when I started job stacking, and I said, the U.S. is so expensive. I could get to my financial goals so much faster by just not living here, and that is what it was. That was literally the genesis of my adventures abroad. And that's why I want to help people, because I think that if you're in the US, even if you are a job stacking stud and you have 5 jobs and you're clearing $500,000 to $1 million plus, that money is not worth the same as it was 4 or 5 years ago. And to live in a safe metro where you can raise kids and have a nice house, the cost is so high. But if you take your remote jobs abroad, you instantly teleport into a totally different socioeconomic status. And for me, that is everything.
Absolutely. And even if you decide to stay in Canada or the United States, job stacking, I mean, it just makes things a lot easier. Like you also go up a peg, right?
Absolutely. No, yeah, the money is great anywhere. And I'm sure most job stackers, even if you only have 2 jobs, you're probably clearing in the top 5-10 percentile, depending on your metro, maybe even 1%.
Yeah.
But it is to say that if you were to rack and stack based on cost of living, quality of life, I think a lot of people would come to the conclusion that I, and perhaps you have, is that you can be an absolute different person, a different lifestyle, superior to that of where you're from, if you're from the Anglosphere.
You are absolutely, Brad. You're absolutely correct. And you know, if you have two jobs, you are a top slave.
Top slave,
top compensated slave, baby. You're closer to freedom.
You know what, though? I think this is something I want to chat about with you, and I think this is a great venue. I've seen this girl on Instagram. She does the lazy girl jobs content. She's got these big glasses. She has like kind of a nerdy effect, but her whole shtick, it's actually quite hilarious. She's like a female NEET. And she's like, I don't want to work hard. I just want an easy, lazy girl job. And you know what? Like, I love that. I think that's absolutely hilarious. But they're all missing the point. They're all missing the point. Like, yes, I agree with the NEETs. I just, you know what? I want you to be able to play Xbox in your PJs and say, you know what? F it. Like I think men should have that right. I don't think that they should be, castigated or criticized. But here's the thing. The best way to quote unquote fight the system is to job stack. It's not to be a lazy piece of shit. It's not to be smoking pot on the couch playing COD. Like, get a bunch of jobs, and then while you're on these horrible one-on-one stand-ups, have a monitor playing a video game and just act like you're engaged. I mean, you could
get paid twice. Get paid twice to play the video game. Yeah. And then just save your money and then invest in a business, do something else. Like, be productive, be the king of mediocrity. This is what job stacking is all about.
Absolutely. It's the applied concept of the system sucks, an extra monitor that I hook up to my Xbox. And if I'm on a really long call, I'm playing an FPS. I'm shooting somebody on a video game just to get by the meeting. And I think it's great. Remote work gives you that freedom.
It's worth more than anything they can pay. And like, you see this all the time as well on Twitter. Like, people, when they want to dunk on remote work, say like, "Oh my God, like how can you stay at home all day and like you're so bored?" It's like, man, I've never been less at home than since I've worked remotely.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny because the propaganda never sticks. It's never. The remote jobs are all going to end. You're going to be forced back to the office. No, I'm not.
No, but I mean, I get it. Like, if it's somebody that is just thinking that you're just staying home all day in the couch and smoking weed or whatever. Okay, yeah, that's kind of depressing. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can just like go to the gym, take a call on the way. It has to be the right kind of job. So that's the thing. Like, we are seeing a degradation of sort of like the remote practices, but the good jobs are still out there. It's just a matter of ABAing, always being there, like always being exposed to finding the good clients, the good jobs. So yeah, guys, it's been close to 2 hours. This is very fun, but I'm getting hungry, and I'm sure some of you guys want to do something else. So what if I want to read a passage from Shadow Work. I guess I'll start ending these streams with like little quotes from books I like. But in the meantime, like, get your questions in. And then Brad, if you had anything else that you wanted to say.
Just one final thought for anybody who is interested about working remotely abroad. The first course of action is to figure out where you want to go. Everything you need to assess your options is all out there for free. I would highly recommend against paying any of these ex-grifters who want to sell you on a residence or a citizenship package. Do your own research yourself first with free resources. Great example is Nomad Capitalist on YouTube. Yes, a lot of his new content is flashy and kind of gimmicky, but if you go back to some of his still relevant content about temporary residences, permanent residences, certain citizenships by descent. That's great content that is free and can help you build your pathway, as opposed to paying a consultant hundreds or thousands of dollars where you don't know what you want to do yet.
Great advice. And I guess it applies to job stacking as well. We have a ton of free materials. We have the YouTube channel where I sometimes post these recordings. I mean, you guys, I guess it doesn't apply to you because you're already here in the program. But again, like I said, we have a qualification process. We really expedite the process for you guys. But there's also a ton of free content out there. So get expert help when you feel like you want what you want to do. When AI human bodies for job stacking? Hopefully never. I don't want AI human bodies. But I do want AI secretaries. I do not oppose to having a Jarvis or something like that, or a Cortana that does not go crazy. But anyway, I'll read the quote. This is from Shadow Work, Ivan Illich. It would be true to say those who, since the 18th century, write about work, its value, its dignity, pleasures, always write about the work that others do. And I'm reminded of people like Dave Ramsey when I read that, right? Like when I read that, I was like, oh yeah, all the people and all the boomers telling young guys to get jobs at Panda Express, like all the conservative ink that just has no idea about how degrading and meaningless work is today. So yeah, just focus on the money, job stacking. Let's get you as many jobs as you can faster so that you can reach escape velocity and just get away from wage slavery. And like, just remember, treat it like money. They're just clients. You're basically building a business where you have cash flow, you have income, you have revenue from the beginning. That's the big difference. Like, that's the big advantage of job stacking. It's like, it's kind of like you're building a business, but you're not taking out loans. You're not running any weird risk. Like, you're not betting money. You're just like increasing income, revenue all the time. So when you're making, there's all these gurus online that telling about like 10K, you can make 10K a month. You can easily make 10K a month with job stacking, 20K, 30K, 60K, right? Scaling it up. And there's a lot of businesses that would die to have that kind of monthly revenue. And that is achievable with job stacking. So anyway, I think I'm going to end the stream. I don't see any more questions. So thank you guys for coming. See you all next week. And thank you, Brad, for being here, for taking calls, taking questions about working from outside the United States. See you guys.
Hey, Rolf here. If you found the content of this video useful, please like, share, and subscribe. It really does help the channel grow and get the word out to more people about job stacking. Thanks.